Okay, can you see my screen now with Sclerocactus?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So basically, if somebody doesn't know, this genus of cacti is from mainly from Southwest United States, and I basically I was not so familiar with it, but a few years ago, like Tatiana and I were planning a trip to the Southwest USA, and we started looking for materials about local species of cacti in Utah, like Arizona, Nevada, and those states. And obviously, like all sorts of apuntias are very common over there, like Echinocereus. But when I was looking for materials online in online magazines and uh, online publications, I found that many people are actually looking for Sclerocactus species in the Southwest US states. And from that point, I started just collecting information about the Sclerocactus species, the localities, and I have like quite of material by that time. So the Sclerocactuses are mainly growing, as I said, in southwestern USA. You can find them in Arizona, California, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, Utah, on different elevations. They can grow in they're grown in Mojave deserts, in Navajo deserts, Great Salt Lake deserts, and Colorado Plateau. Uh, they grow in grasslands, in pine and juniper woods, on limestones, gravelly soils with high pH, sometimes up to 7.5. Uh, but all those areas are basically they're like extremely dry, like Mojave Desert, for example, with very light soils and a lot of pebbles of old fossils, etc. They go to the mountains as well. They grow in the cracks on hill slopes, sometimes on volcanic rocks. And the elevation is something from 500 meters, which basically it's California and Nevada species, mainly Polyancistrus, up to 2,300 meters in altitude. If you can go to Colorado, for example, or to some localities in Utah, you can see Sclerocactus is growing over there, where there's like obviously there is a snow cover for winter, a lot of frosts, etc., etc. Basically, one of the Sclerocactus, which is Sclerocactus papyracanthus, it's reported as can withstand severe frost up to minus 26 Celsius. So it's pretty hardy plants. And if you look at the origin of Sclerocactus, technically speaking, they are very closely related to Ferrocactus genus. However, the researches are still going on, and scientists are studying the DNA of Sclerocactus and all other genus and species in the same area. And if you look at those two plants right now, which is Sclerocactus at the left and Ferrocactus at the right, you can find many similarities in those two genuses. Most likely they have the same ancestor, and those like morphological similarities can be like easily explained according to body shapes, spination, flowers, and seeds. They both have solitary stems, green to dark green, bluish green, globoso depressed, and Sclerocactus usually may grow up to 60 centimeters long and about 20 in diameter, which is pretty big plants. Roots of Sclerocactus are fibrous, ribs prominent or divided into tubercles. Central spines, it can be none or up to 6. They can be twisted or hooked, and the length of central spines could be up to 13 centimeters long. Flowers, basically a whole variety from white to deep pink. They're fragrant, not too fragrant, but you can smell it. And they have pretty big flowers, up to 10 centimeters in diameter. And they are spring flowering, plants, so they flower somewhere from March to June. This is just a close-up of the Sclerocactus seeds, and just believe me, if you compare them with Ferrocactus seeds, they are very, very close. The size-wise and everything else, they both black, shiny. Size is about 1.52 millimeters. At the same time, there is a great deal of confusion and even controversy about the limits of the genus. And a few years ago, more genuses have been merged into the Sclerocactus, mainly based on the DNA researchers' results. If somebody look at the 2005 book, which is New Cactus Lexicon, they mentioned that Toumeya's, Cactus, Cactus, Navajoa, Cactus, all were merged into the Sclerocactus genus. The plants look quite different. If I just put 4 of them on the picture, and you can see that, well, like morphologically, you would say they're different, quite different plants, but according to the DNA study, they're very similar, or at least very close relatives. My personal view is that I prefer the I still prefer the morphological difference, because this is what we see. Okay, but scientists, they have their own logic, and the work is still in progress there. Like eventually in 2015, they started splitting the genus again. For example, they removed Cactus, Echinomastus, Cactus, and Cactus off the Sclerocactus. And basically, now current situation is that there are 11 recognized species and 7 subspecies. But again, nobody tells you for sure. It's just one of the recent publications I found. And you might say it could be just 18 species or no subspecies. So, but whatever, it's pretty much what currently is present in the taxonomy of Sclerocactus genus. Every genus has so-called type species, which basically represent the whole genus. And in case of Sclerocactus, is Sclerocactus mesae-verdae. Its official description, which was given in 1940 as to the plant in that time named Echinocactus mesae-verdae. But then it was like revised a few times, and this is just a type species of the whole Sclerocactus genus. I just put a few pictures of more interesting Sclerocactus. This is the Sclerocactus glaucus, which basically from Colorado and growing at very high altitudes. At the same altitude, you can find many other Sclerocactus, but they're all kind of pretty hardy. And I've seen a few like in Colorado, in New Mexico, and they definitely are as hardy as our local like hardy apuntia, so because they can survive in very low temperature. There is another Sclerocactus subspecies, which wetlandicus, which used to be a genus. This Sclerocactus is from Utah. Now they put the whole section of Parviflora Sclerocactus section. Basically, this is the most widely spread Sclerocactus species, and you can find it all the way from Utah, Colorado to New Mexico and to Arizona. Obviously, it covers like a couple of 1,000 kilometers range. The plants vary a lot. They can have different spination, different flower colors. So, and that's why they put 5 subspecies of Sclerocactus parviflorus. This is a picture I made. It was actually a huge plant. It was growing just next to the highway. It was about maybe not foot, but maybe 10 inches tall. Huge plant, like 7 inches in diameter, covered with so like magnificent flowers. You can see it like 100 meters away, even when you're driving highway. And some populations are pretty like in a pretty good shape, has a lot of plants, seedlings. So, but not all of them. Well, this is a picture of my very first Sclerocactus, which we found in 2015. We were just driving. It was a road trip. It was on the stretch from Denver to Las Vegas, and we just entered Utah and just immediately started looking for plants on the surrounding hills, and it was just hill with like tens of Sclerocactus. I believe it's parviflorus, again, the most common species, but for me it was kind of first time I met those guys. Some of them, it was the beginning of April, I believe. And the interesting thing is that they were like growing on the gravel slopes of the hill, and almost everywhere I've seen them, they were on the south slopes or southern slopes, because this area is covered with snow in winter time, and when you are on the southern slope, the sun is so bright and hot, so basically it melts the snow next day. And that's why on the south slopes it's much warmer and dry, and this is where if you go and look for Sclerocactus or basically any other cacti in the area where it might be snow and frost, you have to go to the southern slopes. Most of the cacti are there. This is just another picture of, I believe, again, parviflorus. It's in the iconic Monument Valley. There are not too many of them. I believe we've seen only 3 or 4 through the trip in the Monument Valley, but they're all very similar with light spines, but there were no flowers at the time. Just another representative of parviflorus section. This is a species from Canyonlands State Park, and they were growing in very soft, porous soil. Sometimes you could not even see the plants. You see just spines just showing up of the sand, and they're pretty miniature species from my understanding. There could be even different species, but the taxonomy, when you go to your road trip, you might not be always sure what even genus is, but even going down to species, it's always very difficult. If you don't see the plants, the flowers, the seeds all together, then you can guess. This is just another sample of Sclerocactus close up, and you see how different the spination is. It's probably the same species, but if the previous image plant has like almost white spines, this one has a lot of like reddish, brownish, very dense spinations. But this particular plant, or like that locality, I collected some seeds. I was trying to grow them here, and they're extremely difficult. I'm not sure why, because other Sclerocactus is growing okay, but this one, which just right now on the picture, I have only, I believe, one seedling growing from it. It's over here, and it's grafted, because all of them just basically they died in the early age. So this one, I decided to graft, and this is the only survivor I have. And it's stretching, it's very slow growing. I'm not sure if it might not even be the parviflorus species, because it looks quite different from the rest of the parviflorus which I have. You see some just images of large plants and the seedling growing next to it. Just another beautiful picture of Sclerocactus parviflorus from Arches National Park, or State Park in this case. Again, not too many of them, but they're growing there and they're on the protected area. There is another special site which we found for like looking for Sclerocactus. It's pretty in high altitudes. It's about 2 kilometers plus in Utah. It's a small city, Torrey. And what we found over there, and you see it's snow. It's May, but the northern slopes are still covered with snow, and it was pretty cold. There is like huge formation of of volcanic rocks over there, and we found so many Sclerocactuses just growing just between the grass and rocks. Sometimes it was like even difficult to see them because they're camouflaged so well. Because they have a few kind of like morphological differences from the kind of common paraflora species, I think it might be a subspecies, which is Terra canonai, I believe they call it. But the only like localities of this subspecies I found in the books is way north from the place where we were. So, and I collected seeds from this plant, from those like group of plants, and they did not germinate for me for first 4 years in a row. I just was trying resowing them and basically zero result. And suddenly after 4 years, they started germinating like crazy, just all at once. A few years later, we visited the same localities, like the same locality of Sclerocactus, and we found so many of them were just destroyed by animals. It could be wild cattle, or I don't know, or domestic animals, but there was so many plants were just smashed, and it was, I don't know, it was such a dramatic scene, but this happens not only with this place for sure. Just a close-up of that species. You see, it's almost completely white spines, no brown, no red. Just close-up of the flowers. Flowers, it's very light flowers, like yellowish, which is again, it's not pretty common for paraflora. That's why I'm saying it might be another species, or at least a subspecies of parafloras. Some of them are grown in groups and pretty big size. Those guys maybe like, I don't know, 5-6 inches tall. And I have not seen a lot of seedlings, just one. If you see the right plant, it has small seedling just sticking out at the bottom, but not too many young plants in that particular locality. Around the same area, they grow because it's only very hardy cacti is supposed to grow there. You can see Echinocereus triglyphidiatus, just huge clumps. We found at least a few of them, like a foot or 16-inch, like in diameter clumps of like hundreds of heads. And this is just pretty common for that area. Escobaria vivipara, also very hardy plant. Then our next basically like locality we found was on the way from Torrey to Moab city in Utah, and we found that, like, again, it was just around the highway. I've seen them like just growing just on the slope of the highway. It's basically clay with some sand, very like a lot of, it's kind of dirt. But there were so many plants over there, and again, sorry, but I collected some seeds, and those seeds were germinated next year immediately. Basically, from my understanding, they were of the same age, the seeds, basically last year seeds. But if the seeds from Torrey, I had to wait 4 years before they started germinate. Those seeds, I sowed them next year, and I have many plants which are growing now. Those are just the seedlings which are, how many? They're 4 years old now, 4 or 5. And you see they're pretty big plants, it's about 3 inches across. And the spines are very strong and reddish, so I'm just waiting for them to flower. But people are saying that basically they need to be like frozen for at least a few times during winter if you want them to start flowering. I did it last year. I didn't have any flowers. We'll see what this year will show up because they're still in dormancy right now. And here I'm just comparing two plants from two localities, the seedlings, I mean. The one on the right are from that Moab area. The ones on the left are from Tori area, and where the mature plants were completely white, no brown or whatever spines. So, and you see the difference in the seedlings as well. And obviously, I'm expecting that the ones on the left will be yellow flowering, the ones on the right will be deep pink flowering plants. And the most beautiful from my point of view, if many people have the same opinions, Sclerocactus polyancistrus. This is basically the most southern species, which grow on low altitudes, somewhere like between 500 meters, 800 meters above the sea level max in California, in southern Nevada. This image was taken in 2017 when we were driving from Los Angeles to Death Valley State Park. Because just before that road trip, I just collected all the information about that particular species of Sclerocactus polyancistrus, and I put them all in map. And when we were driving there, I was basically trying to make stops in each of those locations, but most of them were just like empty, or maybe were just fake locations, because I haven't seen any cacti around when we stop in many of them. But the few of them too, like exactly, we've seen paraflores or polyancistrus actually growing. It's they were growing on limestone. At least the two places I found, they were limestones and some like volcanic rocks debris. The spination is so beautiful. It's maybe you can, if you see them alive, it's just amazing. It's almost just bright red spines, and they're very healthy plants. But I believe they're in a danger, because we have seen only a few of them in each location, and I have not seen any seeds or nothing, because maybe they're just growing so far apart, so even cross pollination did not happen. Like at least at those localities, because this particular image was taken, and it's north side of Death Valley Park, just close to Sierra Nevada Ridge, and this is the only place where I found at least a few of them, like growing close to each other. But I have not seen any seeds, any seed pods, any. I don't know why. But this is considered as one of the rarest Sclerocactus species. Probably there is a reason for it. Polyancistrus is also very, very variable. I have a bunch of different forms of, they don't call it subspecies, but I say it's just forms. This one is just the albino. It has pure yellow goldish spines. Don't know about the flower color, but I just bought them online 2 years ago, I believe, just a bunch of them, just to see how they grow. And they are really, really different. The spines are from, as I said, from almost white or goldish to bright, like I don't know, like maroon or red spines. They're all grafted. So the ones I purchased from Europe, all were grafted. Some of them on as you see, it's grafted on Astrophytum merastigma, I believe. But most of them were grafted on hardy Hinaceriuses. And its picture shows that I was trying to just to propagate them, because normally they don't produce offsets. And I was using Cytokinin, which is basically a chemical which stimulates the growth of offsets and flowering as well. And probably I put it too much because you see it produced the offset and the flower, and the flower was crested. It was very interesting plant. I still have it growing, but we'll see. It did not produce any more flowers, but I just keep it as is. I just regrafted the offsets to make sure that I keep at least 2-3 plants of the same variety. The one which again is one of the most beautiful, but I have many troubles with it. It's Sclerocactus spinosior. It's so bluish and dark green body, and spines are so magnificent. But like originally, I purchased a few of them from Mesa Gardens. I mean the seedlings, but I lost all of them till next year. They were just didn't like my greenhouse. I was very careful with them, but nope, they were just dying one by one. So then I start just grafting whatever left, and at least I have one growing grafted. Sorry, over here. I've got a lot of offsets from that graft, but every time I try to root them, they rooted very easily. They show a lot of like strong roots, but once I plant them into the pot, they rot immediately. So this is a plant I'm having a lot of problem with, but it makes it interesting to grow. So it's kind of like I have a goal now how to grow them, how to root them, how to make them flowering. It's very beautiful species. I was ordering seeds of this Sclerocactus again from Mesa Gardens, and it was like case very like unusual germination because they started germination in a maybe 40 days from the time I sowed them, and they started germination. Many of them, just big numbers, but and they just were so huge, big sprouts of the cacti, and I planted them to the pots, and again I lost all of them one by one. Whatever fungicides I was using, systemics, non-systemics, doesn't matter. They just melted until the last one has gone. Well, we'll see. Maybe I will have more luck this year, but that's my previous experience. This is just weird look of the one which I grafted. It was very, very small seedling. And like again, it was one of those dying ones. I just cut just the top of the tiny seedling, grafted it on peeblesiana and started growing. Then I regrafted it on another stalk on Eriotcereus, and it was sitting for a while and suddenly start like just showing roots from all over the body. And now I don't know what to do with the plant. If I have to just at least try to put it into the normal pot to let the roots grow, or if I should keep it on this graft and just regraft the top portion. I will watch it this spring, but it's very, very like interesting. It's the first time I've seen a seedling grafted plant growing like that. I have not seen roots, but now it's not just roots. It's just I don't know, roots are going all over the body. Well, we'll see. I'll keep you posted. There is another Sclerocactus, which was merged to Sclerocactus genus. It used to be Toumeya papyracantha. Now it's Sclerocactus papyracanthus. It's growing in Arizona, in Utah, just around Grand Canyon area. Well, Dave told me that he's seen thousands of the plants in one place. I was looking for this plant in different localities and different cities. I could not find any because they're so well camouflaged. Again, those plants are pretty tiny, even the mature plants, Toumeya, I mean. And if they grow just between the grass somewhere, you might just be like 1 meter away from them, but you will not see them. It might be the case. Maybe I need just better glasses. I don't know, but I could not find them. There are two varieties of this Toumeya papyracantha or Sclerocactus papyracanthus. One over here, it has like dark brown spines and kind of pinkish flowers with a dark strip along the petals. This is a seedling which I grow from seed, but again, I grow them only grafted now because I lost all of them on their own roots. And this seedling of mine, it has field number SB1914, but there is another well-known Sclerocactus papyracanthus field number, which is SB504, and that one is quite different. It has almost white spines and much lighter flowers. Again, this one I'm also growing from seeds. This plant is grafted. I was cross-pollinating those two like field numbers or subspecies, whatever. Last year I have a bunch of seeds. This year I was trying to sow them. About 3 weeks ago, so far I have only one seed germinated from like maybe 50, 70 seeds. Like obviously I will collect them. I will not throw them away. I will try them next year, and I firmly believe that 1 year I will have like all of them germinated, but I have to be patient. This is just the seeds of that Sclerocactus papyracanthus. Some people saying, okay, you have to try to freeze them a few times. You have to do scarification. Not with this particular seeds, but with previous seeds from which I was purchasing. I did everything. I was placing them into the freezer for a few hours and let them just warm up and put them again. So I did few cycles of freeze, warm. I don't believe it make any difference. At least for me, it didn't work. If they germinate, they germinate. If they don't germinate, you can do whatever you want. They will just wouldn't germinate. I just another newcomer to the Sclerocactus genus. It's from Navajoa peeblesiana. There are few species, subspecies, very tiny miniature plant. Again, not very common to Sclerocactus genus. The size-wise, even grafted, they are growing maybe like an inch and a half in diameter, and they're not growing very big. But again, according to genetics, to science, they are a Sclerocactus now. Well, basically, this is what I was getting in the parcels. Most of them from Czech Republic, from Russia, from Ukraine. They just grow them they graft them on hardy Hinocereus species mostly, and they have like tons of plants offering online. If you can go and find them, you can buy them, but make sure that they're grafted. So they're probably clones. You might not be able to cross-pollinate them, but the plants are available. Well, now just a few words about Sclerocactus cultivation and care. Traditionally, as I already mentioned, Sclerocactuses are considered as one of the most difficult cacti to be cultivated. The conditions they are growing in nature are very special, with very cold winters, except probably California and Nevada species, and have extremely hot summers. Usually they grow in open spaces where winds are blowing just all year round. And obviously, if you bring those plants to cultivation, you're supposed to give them full sun, as much sun as possible, and very good like ventilation. If it's summer, you have to ventilate your greenhouse. If it's winter, it could be again airflow running. Otherwise, they're easily rot. So you have to be very careful. They're pretty good, I believe, for not heated greenhouses. If somebody has cold frames, they're ideal plants. You can just leave them for the winter. Doesn't matter if it's -10, -15 Celsius. They will survive at least winter in Ontario without any issue. What they wouldn't survive is if you leave them outside under the freezing rain and wet snow, etc. Then I did once, because I had many of them. I left 3 plants outside for the winter. No, in spring they will just mash, nothing left. But in the greenhouse, again, if you have greenhouse, if you don't want to heat it for winter, you can use this plant for your collection. It's no problem. Again, seeds, it's very controversial. They can germinate in great numbers, what I mentioned with my seeds, or they might not germinate at all. I still have, if Dave is online, Dave gave me the seeds of one of his Sclerocactuses, and I'm sowing it for probably 4 years in a row now. I didn't have any single seed germinated. If I cut the seed, I see that like there is kind of something live inside, so they're not dead. They're not kind of rotten or whatever. They're supposed to germinate one day, but I'm not sure when. So all above is obviously true. If you read any sources about Sclerocactus, yes, difficult, yes, very difficult to propagate, to germinate from seeds. But I've seen so many collections online. People have hundreds, if not thousands, of Sclerocactus, different species of Sclerocactus grown in the greenhouse. A friend of mine in southern Russia, he has full greenhouse, just full of Sclerocactuses. But he kind of lives in the area. It's about maybe 15 meters above the sea level in the mountains. So he's not heating his greenhouse at all. And he was just laughing that I have no problem of growing them. They grow, they flower. So he's just enjoying this plant. And the same, I've seen a lot of big collection of Sclerocactus in Czech Republic. Again, they grow them grafted, they grow them on their own roots, they're flowering, they're propagating them, they're offering seeds. So that's why I'm saying that if you think about Sclerocactus, don't be scared by those online comments if you see that they're so difficult. From my understanding, you just have to find a good source of seeds, the seeds which are taken from strong plants. If they start growing and germinate, then okay, you should be all right, and you will see that your plants will be just showing you like a lot of fun and spines and flowers and very interesting plant. If somebody is interested in learning about Sclerocactus, I would say Benson, the cacti of United States and Canada. It has a lot of kind of scientific information about the Sclerocactus, the different tables and all the localities all over the states, and you can find a lot of scientific information in it. But the second book I found, which is a genus Sclerocactus, published in 2005, that one is specifically about Sclerocactus. And when I was trying to identify species of the ones I have, I was looking at that particular book because it has all the details about what the difference between two species. Sometimes it's just absolutely identically looking plants, but the one inner part of the flower is different for that species than from that species. And this is basically how they, a long time ago, they just say, okay, this is the species A, this is the species B. Well, this is what I was going to say today about this Sclerocactus.